do some more next week. All right, let's do it. It's news time, chat. Oh my gosh. Clear you freaked me out. I was not expecting that during the intro. I was like prepping stuff. Thank you for the 250. Jesus. All right, welcome in chat to the news of what is today? Today is Saturday, the 18th of June. We are amidst the big news fest that is Summer of Games. Used to be E3, now Summer of Games, and it's a pretty chill, cold summer for me, I will tell you that. But we are going to be doing quite a lot because there's basically last week there was the Microsoft Expo. We got that quite in the midst of a Let's Watch, so we're not going to be covering that this week. However, we will be covering a lot of the stuff that happened during this week and a catch up with a little bit of the Indie Expo for the Wholesome Indie Show. Oh, Bisherton. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Bisherton is he's not too bad. It'll be interesting to see if the variant form in Sunbreak will be a lot stronger. I have to see who I know is still playing Animal Crossing on my friends list. I've started over and the friends list is very empty. Oh, Superwoman. Yeah, I feel like we're at that point where people have mostly done what they want to do with Animal Crossing, and we're not really getting any more content per se. But that's okay. I feel like that game had its time in the sun, and it got a lot of extra content. So I'm pretty satisfied with it itself. But for now, let's jump into some new stuff. Starting with some of the just general news. There's not a lot of general news because there's a lot of just new shit. There's a lot of new shit, chat. Sonic Frontiers gameplay and screenshots, battle freerun and puzzles shown off. So even more footage came out of Frontiers. People were very upset, I will say, about Frontiers because there was a lot of essentially footage that was shown off on site in essentially at the Games Fest physical location, which people were not too thrilled about because Sega were being very restricted on capturing any of the footage or taking screenshots and stuff like that. But they have put out a lot of footage of the game, and particularly some big pieces of news came out about it, which is essentially the fact that the game does have extra areas. There is essentially leveling, which is the weirdest thing. And one of the big complaints people had when the original reveal is that Sonic looked really sluggish, but the new footage showing off is showing Sonic moving a lot faster, and which seemingly is representing that Sonic being at like whatever max level is, or he's some part through his levels. So for whatever reason, Sonic will be a lot weaker than what we're used to, and he will power up. So there's a lot of footage here. So if you do want to dive into this game, a lot of it seems to be still in the same location, just different segments. But I think this game looks good. I still think that it does look bit of a tech demo, but it's one of those things that I still think kudos to Sega for trying something different and it not looking like a disaster. It doesn't look like it runs terribly either. I do think there's lots of things that feel indie about it, which is a little sad to say coming from a AAA company. But hey, they're trying something. I'd rather that than Sonic having the scenario of what happened with essentially Sonic Boom and what was the other one? Sonic, the last one, the one with the custom character. I think there's some stuff here that's like it's worth speaking about, but we'll see. We'll have to see. I think once people get hands-on and are able to talk outside of NDAs, we'll know whether or not it is like something to keep on the radar. I will probably end up playing it. This genuinely looks like the first Sonic game in like 20 years that I think I want to purchase, outside of Generations, of course. Here, Street Fighter's Street Fighter 6 Ryu, Chun, and Luke theme songs. So these songs have been playing in people's play demos. So there's a lot of footage out there right now for Street Fighter 6. The game looks fucking amazing. This might be the fighting game. This might be the best fighting game ever. If they can line up all the cards, this might be the one. This might be the game that really puts fighting games on the map, and it makes it a bit more mainstream, as well as possibly even hitting a much wider appeal than just the standard FGC, to the point that this might be the next gen fighting game. And we'll see. It's a lot of content they're promising within the space of the sort of exploring world single player, which supposedly is a full game on its own, as well as the fighting modes and arcade modes. But these themes are really quite good. I'm really liking the street theme of everything. I don't know if I like the verbal parts, but these themes are pretty dope. I'm pretty excited with some of these. One thing I will say though is that this music this isn't Ryu's theme. I can't even hear traces of Ryu's theme in here. These are completely new tracks. But damn, they're jamming. I'm so into these. I thought these were just straight stage songs at first, but because they just played during the demos. But apparently this is Ryu's theme, which it's got some funk there with the shamisen, and I really like that. I'm way into it. I think Chun-Li's is probably a little bit weaker, I would say, but they're still really good. I think all these songs are genuinely quite fun, and I'm kind of excited for when the game drops. And there's a theory that people have had that with the fact that they've had at the bottom of when a match starts, it will tell you what the song is. I'm wondering whether or not every character not only has a song, but I'm wondering whether or not there's additional other songs. And fingers crossed, I mean, you might be able to choose the songs for fighting, which if there's a full roster of songs and they basically just make it similar to how Guilty Gear has, I think having music and fighting games have such a close DNA, in my opinion, that I think you need to nail it, and I think they have. I think this might be a really just cool experience. But if you want to go listen to the full tracks, they're out there on YouTube or obviously on Twitter. But I think these are just very, very good songs. I think Ryu's is definitely the strongest, but for some reason, I don't know where they are or where they play, but there are verbal versions of these songs as well. And I'm not sure if I like them as much, but a lot of this is out there as well. There's also, Capcom's yet to share the theme songs for Guile and Jamie, but which is weird because Jamie's in-game, so I don't know if you just can't select his at the moment, but because I'm fairly sure it was in the demo, but I might be wrong. Overwatch 2 content roadmap detailed and beta signups now available. So, I'm not going to be playing Overwatch 2. I was not a fan of the first one. However, somehow this game has kept its player base relatively sized. People have been waiting for this for so long, and the original announcement for Overwatch 2 was to add the single player experience, but it sounds like they're delaying that yet again. But Overwatch 2 will be replacing Overwatch 1. You will not have Overwatch 1 anymore. It's basically as if they're updating the seasons to the game, and they added a full roadmap to it, as well as did a character reveal for the Junker Queen. I think they did like a couple of like animations and things like that. So if you're interested in an arena shooter that you haven't played before, or the update to Overwatch, maybe go check out this stuff. Again, the Blizzard polish is there. It's just you have to enjoy that play style of what it is, and I don't know if that's going to change too much with Overwatch 2, but it sounds like they're adding a few different game modes and things like that. So there is quite a lot of new content coming there. They've been working on this for so long, and there is a lot of money behind this. I would imagine this will come out quite polished. It's just whether or not the feel is right for you, I think. But Overwatch 2 fans, you've waited long enough. I think it's your time to have your meal essentially. I wonder if that's that one fighter, I think, who's Ryu's best friend. I watch people play, but I don't know the popular characters. Are you talking about Ken? So I won't talk about leaks. There is very, very well-known leaks out there, Superwoman. But there are certain characters from the OG roster that will pretty much be there. By the way, Ken is my main, so I would be very reminisced if Ken wasn't in the game. But let's just say I'm very happy. But yeah, if you want, you can go look out there and basically you will be able to find the leaks pretty easy if you really want to know the roster. Capcom, unfortunately, has got a leaky ship that they need to solve, and I'll talk about that in a bit. We've got a very big thing coming up with Capcom, which was leaked pretty hard a long time ago. No rollback netcode in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We're still in fighting territory. This one is a disappointment, a really big disappointment. If you don't know, rollback netcode is the thing that most fighting games should be pushing towards. It is the best netcode right now. Adaptions of it have been used by various different companies, but I think they've figured it out now on the most part. And playing cross countries, cross continents is way better than it's ever been before. So not having it makes a very sad experience. And if you don't know, and I've warned people about this particular game, this is a remake of a PS3 game. This PS3 game had terrible netcode. I'm assuming they'll probably improve it and be relying on the new systems, the PS5 and basically new infrastructure they have there. But unfortunately, this may mean, despite everything they're doing to improve JoJo's Bizarre Adventure's fighting system, it still might not feel great online. This might be a game you may end up playing local, depending on how far your friends are to play against. I know for me, it probably will be fine online, somewhat. However, I do think that I will not be able to play with Americans, unfortunately. So this may not be a game I will be able to stream because of this fact alone. But we'll see. People are pretty upset. I've already seen somehow people have gotten play demos at various locations, and people are not happy with it. Oh, okay, I see. This is probably why. Chat, I didn't realize this. So apparently the demo actually came out 2 days ago. So this is why I've seen demo footage. So yeah, so people are not happy with the online system. So very likely this is what's happened. Here's fingers crossed that they do something magical to fix some of that, because without reinventing their netcode before the release, which is nigh impossible, that would take them too long to do that. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough sell for a lot of people, but at least the improvements in combat look better, and it might be worth picking up as a re-release essentially. I know I probably will now because of some of the changes they've made. Epic launches cross-play tools for Steam and Epic Games. Holy heck. Now, I know a lot of people want to be very down on Epic, and they want to be down on Epic's exclusivity and things like that. Again, I still think that they are trying to make a difference within the industry. It's just, unfortunately, there's some business stuff there that is a bit in the way. However, this is a very cool thing to see, because this means that Epic really do understand that a lot of people, it's hard to pull people from Steam, but one of the things that's very tough for people is not being able to play with friends on the other platform. So if you purchase on one, you'll have to purchase on the other. So a good example is if with Final Fantasy, I was really holding out from buying it because we want to figure out whether or not it would be on Steam or Epic, because Steam would probably be the preferred platform for some of my mates. However, we ended up getting it on Epic because it didn't get announced. But if some of them did get it on Steam, we wouldn't have been able to play with each other very likely, unless the actual back end was in there. However, Epic is seeming to recognize that problem, that people are just going to wait for the Steam release because that's where still majority of people are. So giving the capability to have it on both probably is going to open up the ability for them to have better sales just in general. So it's smart both ways, and I think this just gives more user choice. And again, as Gabe Newell says, is give players choice, give them the ability to choose where they want to purchase, and they will, because they're going to get it however they want to get it. They will always make the pick. So give them more options, and you'll end up seeing the sort of the repercussions from that. So this is good to see. I'm very happy about this, and hopefully we hear more about it in the future. This probably should have been in the announcement section, but N64 is getting Pokemon Snap. So now you will be able to play both the new Pokemon Snap and the original Pokemon Snap, which, by the way, this game I could speedrun in like, I think it's like 2 hours or less. This would be a very easy just throw in stream that we could just do next week. It is a very fun game. It's just very silly and it's extremely charming. Honestly, I do like some of the charm that comes from this particular game that I don't think the modern one has as much, because this one has a lot more just little puzzles, I feel like, but it's a much tighter, shorter experience. It's very fun. If you've never played Pokemon Snap, you can look forward to this one. I think this is just a fun game for just everyone, honestly, as long as you're into Pokemon, I think. Even then, you might just like taking photos. Upcoming events. There's only really one upcoming event to talk about. There's not a lot of new stuff. We've kind of gotten through the majority of it. There is a rumored event for Nintendo. However, we don't have any solid dates for that. That may be very soon. Very likely it will be. Usually there's one during the Summer of Games. However, it's a little bit later. So fingers crossed it will be either the end of next week or mid next week is what my assumption will be. But Assassin's Creed Celebration is the event that's coming up. So if you are Assassin's Creed fan, which holy shit, there are so many Assassin's Creed games now, that will be live on June 14th. I have no idea what's going to be in it. My assumption is that there may be some announcement for essentially the new title, because supposedly there is a new open world game that they are working on, but who knows what it will be. But it says here that it will feature a special look at the future of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and look back, and also a tease of what's to come. So there probably will be. I would love a new Black Flag. I don't know. I don't really know where Assassin's Creed goes from now. But honestly, if it's shocking to me that they have not made the easy sell for Assassin's Creed, which is a Chinese or Japanese one, considering ninjas and stealth were a very big part of espionage and assassination in various parts of both of their histories. Somewhere based in Asia, and with all the interconnected regional stuff, it would be such an easy sell. But because of the fact that it's so still focused on the Templars and things like that, I don't really know how they do that per se. Assassin's Creed Japan with the caption, totally not Ghost of Tsushima. I think that would be a hard sell for some people as well, though. They would just see it as Ghost. There's quite a few Japanese stealth games. I mean, ninjas have been done to death by Japan. How can you outdo them in a sense? But, you know, look, no problem, Garo. Good luck with your stream, man. Now they need to throw in Pokemon Stadium games. Oh, dude, I would love Pokemon Stadium to come over Red Rover. Pokemon Stadium with online play would be dope. That would be so fun to play with people. I would love that. Burmese Assassin's Creed, they literally could do so many locations. Assassin's Creed is a very strange game IP, because the two that I found very strange, Pirates, fair enough. I kind of got Pirates. I think doing the one that was in the, essentially the colonial times in America, that seemed like a weird pick. Doing Vikings also seems like a weird pick. Egypt kind of made sense to me, but it feels like there's some easy sells there with various locations in history that have kind of got like essentially espionage and murder and all that being a thing, to not have lent into that. But they do what they want, I guess. Like the Assassin's Creed team seems to have figured out kind of what they want to do. And their games mostly sell well. I think like really the Colonial one might be the only one that didn't sell fantastically well. But I think there was also one that was apparently it didn't have very good gameplay or something like that. But yeah, I'm not really an Assassin's Creed fan, so if you guys knows what up and what you think it could be, you let me know. It'll turn out that ninjas were a second enemy for the assassins or something. Maybe, who knows? Well, the thing is that if you wanted to, because the Templars exist, there was a point where essentially there was in Asia, there was a very large push for essentially Christianity and all that being pushed over there, that you could very easily tie some of that storyline into that sort of stuff. And For some reason, if you haven't seen, there's different parts of Asia that have had Christianity brought into them, where then they think that the truth is that Jesus was actually born in their country, or he's buried there, or things like that, where it's like these very like, I'm not sure how that would make any sense to personally, but with a lot of these stories, but that's something they believe, and that could be instantiated by events that may have happened in the game and things like that, because they like to play with history, and that's what these games are. But yeah, if you're interested, that'll be June 14th for Assassin's Creed. Any announcements? By gosh, there's some announcements. There is a lot of announcements coming up. All right, chat. So we won't talk about the Xbox Showcase. I'm going to skip that completely. However, I will talk about the Wholesome Direct. So I watched it last year. I didn't really have much time this year to do a lot of Let's Watches, mostly because I wanted to try and get through Hollow Knight. And there was a lot of stuff. Like a lot of stuff. If you did not watch this Direct, there was a lot in it. Like a lot in it. I kind of almost want to watch this Direct at some point, because I haven't watched the trailers for any of these, and they haven't come up in any other spaces, but this, considering how many are in here, this might be worth it. This is how many games are in this particular Direct. This was a very large Direct with a lot of games that you might have already seen and be interested in. This was big. I don't even know if I can't even like say them all, because it just take me for so long, but I might count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dude, man, hang on, hold up. Do they have a count here? Maybe they have a count here. They don't even have a count on this list. There's a lot. This is easily, I think it looks like about 60 games to me. I think that looks about like 60 to 70 games. That is a lot of games there, chat. But if you are an indie fan, particularly wholesome, soft games that make you feel good, maybe check this Direct out. I kind of want to check this out myself now. This might be a personal reminder, and maybe we could watch it tomorrow, or do we want to? We could watch this after. Do we want to do a Let's Watch of this after? Considering how much news we got to, it might be worth it, because I mean, we'll be delaying Monster Hunter, but I kind of want to watch this at the same time. I wonder how long the Direct is. If anyone can find me a link to the Direct, that would be really good, because I'm not sure how long it is. But there might be a couple of pieces we might talk about from it here, because these are just known ones to me. Example, Tinykin. Tinykin has actually got a launch date now. It will be August 30th. If you haven't seen, this is basically the Pikmin-like that is inside a child's bedroom, and it has these little old fellas, and they're little 2D hand-drawn animations in a little 3D space, and it looks very, very charming. I'm kind of looking forward to this game, and yeah. Genuinely, I'm actually kind of surprised there hasn't been more mob-controlled games, and I think this has a really nice art style.
Fascinating world of Tinykin. Tinykin are extraordinary little creatures. Alone, they rarely pose a threat. But in great numbers, they are exemplary. Look, here's some now. The
Tinykin on stream? I probably will. Honestly, this game seems genuinely charming enough that, and of my sort of gameplay styling, that I think I probably would play this. I wonder how long it would be. I can't imagine indie games usually aren't too long, and it looks like the space is just your house. So it can't be, I can't imagine it being too big, but at the same time, there is enough going on in these trailers. Look at that! Look how fun that is!
That's everything. Wait,
Oh, apparently he can't go in water?
well, look. There's Daniel, a red Tinykin. Adorable. With an immensely fiery temper.
So, hang on, is he a shrinked child, chat? Do we think he's a shrinked child? Or do we think he's like a different species? Because he exploded when he went in water. But it looks very charming. I'm very excited for that game, and we will probably end up picking that up. I don't know if we'll pick it up on release. We'll see what else is coming in around that time frame, but it looks very good. All right, Street Fighter 6 announced, by the way, this probably should have been in the general section, that the World Tour mode will have a full game's worth of content. Basically, a lot of news came out during the Capcom presentation, but not anything, no reveals. We thought that the leaked OG character was going to be presented because we've seen her super and stuff, but it seems like they held off during the Capcom presentation from that. Probably just because we've already seen so much, which is fine. I think everyone's very hungry for Street Fighter 6. This game looks amazing. I'm so excited for this. So if they want to start pacing themselves, that's totally fine. They've got a lot to reveal still, so we'll hold on to that. So again, we are now amongst the Capcom presentation. They started revealing stuff. We're not going to do a let's watch of the Capcom stuff. It's already been and done. But they did reveal a few things. Not as heavy as a presentation as I thought, but this is probably the new surprising thing that was probably being teased, which we kind of knew was coming anyway. So the much awaited Resident Evil Village DLC, the Winters expansion, which is called Shadows of Rose. It adds a few different things like a VR mode, a third person mode. It's as well as the DLC storyline of Rose, which is the daughter of the main character. I think his name's Ethan. Yeah, it looks like Silent Hill. If you like horror games, this might be for you. This isn't Pikmin 4 news? No, well, we did talk about Tinykin Manual, which I'm looking forward to.
Even Chris doesn't know I can do.
So yeah, so supposedly this girl is very much she's the child of the mold, essentially. But it's one of those things that it's seemingly she has a lot of magic powers that the mold gives. Which the mold is the new version of the T-Virus. It's this generation's ongoing storyline with the T-Virus, I guess. But it's interesting to see how they're doing this particular story. It's not straight up just Resident Evil gameplay. It seems to be a narrative in a mental scape. Did you play the demo? No, I hadn't played the demo. Did you, Manuel? Was it good? So there's some return characters here. We can see that the mold is being used. It's really hard to say whether or not this is in her head or how much is in her head or how much is physical. But like I said, very heavy DNA with some Silent Hill here. But also, the much awaited Mercenaries upgrade mode is coming. But you get to play as bosses, which is crazy. So, is this sponsored content? What do you mean? This is the news. This is just what's happening. Also, this is what I was mentioning. So you can play as third person mode, which is so weird. So if you didn't see, there was art that came out of this character because you played in first person. No one knew what Ethan looked like. But we did get some art of him being blonde, but straight up you get to sort of see what he looks like now. So yeah, pretty cool. So if you're a Resident Evil fan, I bet this is good for you. Next up, they revealed more of Exoprimal. So Exoprimal is the essentially remake of the Dino Crisis IP, except it's a swarm game similar to that of, say, Left 4 Dead and things. And it would be... it looks interesting. I think I'm not fully sold on this game just yet. Visually looks really good. I don't really like the Warframe looking sort of exosuits, but the swarm mechanics of the dinosaurs look pretty dang cool. This would be our good Halloween game. Oh, the Resident Evil. Most definitely. Probably not for me. Again, I'm not a... I may play RE4 Remake someday because that's the only Resident Evil game that I've ever sort of like that. It's dumb fun to me, but at the same time, I don't think Resident Evil is necessarily for me. This is crunchy quality. Hopefully I can make this more high res. This game looks very, very nice when it's high res. The bitrate completely destroyed it on the stream, by the way. I think this game looked a lot worse on stream and on YouTube than it probably will look IRL, because it's got so many particle effects and there's so much happening on screen that I think it just doesn't look great. For whatever reason, this is not up-resing into 1080p. I think this has been re-uploaded by some person and they did poor quality for it, but it's probably just a stream rip. But yes, the game does look very good. Weirdly enough, it seems to have DNA with a few different games like Overwatch and stuff like that. I can't unsee Overwatch on some of these poses. But if you just want to fight T-Rexes with like sci-fi weapons, you know, kind of almost like EDF style sort of scenario, it looks pretty good. And it has some ridiculous looking set pieces, but I would say this game is looking pretty nice. When they started doing weird zombies, keep zombies slow and dumb and not that weird crap. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a zombie fan. That's why I would say this is almost more interesting to me in some ways, but it's pretty dumb. Just swarms of dinosaurs. And they have like special abilities and stuff like that. It's very much Left 4 Dead-y in that sense with this game, but it's like I don't know, there's something not quite there for me on this game just yet, but I do know that people are excited for this game for sure. Next up, Monster Hunter. We are in Monster Hunter territory. I might actually, just before we do that, we might hold off the Monster Hunter news because I'm just going to make sure that we'll hold off on the Monster Hunter news because we'll just jump into Resident Evil. So, Resident Evil also announced two things. The leaked Resident Evil 4 remake is real, and we got to talk about it. Basically, they show off more footage of it, which they do not have the trailer for it here. Do we not have it here? That's the DLC. Hang on, we're going to go get the trailer for the Resident Evil remake. This trailer shows off a bit more. It's definitely interesting because of the fact that it is a lot more darker looking. It's a lot less brown, and it looks like it's a lot less sort of comical in a sense. And I think that this is the state of play version, isn't it? This is the state of play version. It's not what we want. I think we'll just grab, is it this one? Fingers crossed, this me randomly grabbing things. What is this? Is this it?
Hi everyone.
Oh no, here we go. Yeah, here we go. This is the footage we were looking for.
To enjoy when it launches in 2023. Today, we'll reintroduce a bit of the game's story. A mission to rescue the kidnapped.
So basically, they kind of showed off some of the story stuff, as well as some of the gameplay. But you can sort of see here that it's a lot darker looking than the original was. I think the spaces look claustrophobic in a way that in the original game you could clearly sort of see where you were allowed to walk. I feel like in this it's less clear, and that's probably for the better. So it gives it that sort of blur between the path that you're sort of walking through as well as the sort of scenery around you. I think that they learned so much from making 7 and 8 that this will be a very good experience. Hopefully they're putting a little bit more effort into this one than they did 3, because people did have a bit of issues with the 3 remake, but it's this is probably the remake that people have been waiting for, and I would say this will likely be the last of the remakes for Resident Evil. I can't imagine they'll remake 5 or 6 because they're not particularly ones that people are fans of to the same degree. This is kind of where Resident Evil kind of ended for people. But yeah, it's going to be big. I feel like that game will sell crazy, crazy good. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak update title announcement. Oh my gosh. So, there was a lot in the Monster Hunter one. Holy heck. It's one of those things that we were wanting to see, essentially these details, and this is really big for Monster Hunter fans because of the fact that we have a proper lineup. So this was a big problem with when, for those who don't know, when Rise originally announced or first came out, we had a very tough issue with it. Seemingly they didn't quite finish the game up to the point that they were happy with for releasing it. So we were getting, instead of what the usual is, where we finish the game, we get the story, we get the whole thing, we get post-game releases to make the game more fleshed out and we get more to do. It becomes a very big package. Unfortunately, they were playing so much catch-up that we didn't end up getting the full package, which really put Rise in a weird hampered state, and a lot of OG people were a bit disappointed with it, unfortunately. Still a fantastic game, and I would suggest people picking it up now, but as it was, I would say on release, it was a little bit weaker than previous titles. However, with Sunbreak, they're already seemingly way on a better footing, and this looks a lot more normal. And they announced basically the various different updates they're going to be doing from August to winter to 2023. We've got new areas, rare species, and special species. So we're getting 2 different types of monster types, which we'll watch the trailer. Some very cool stuff in the trailer. And it seems like they're going to do 2 sets of that. And then they're doing something in winter, including powered up monsters, which I'm assuming must be like tempered monsters. I'm really sure which one what kind of system we're going to see, if we're going to either see a new system. I don't believe we're going to probably see Apexes coming back in the same way they did. I'm not even sure if Apexes are even coming back. I kind of don't know how they're going to approach that, but surely the deviants will exist in Apex form 4 across the board, but we'll see. Want it to be Legiana? It'll be curious if they did bring back Leg, which version they would bring of it. Screeching is probably the better version of the fight because it's just harder, and we are in G rank, which I'll talk about the Astalos changes when we jump into the demo for sure. I'm back, Modem Reboot. Welcome back. I've got to figure out. I'm very tempted to go with JT. Are you cool if I call you JT, or I'm really struggling to pronounce this unclean. Talika? Should I just say Talika? Trying to figure out which is, because I like shortening people's names sometimes, so I don't trip on over everyone's names. But this is very cool. I'll go grab the trailer because unfortunately I don't think they've put the trailer in here, but we've got a kind of a little leak here in terms of, well, not a leak, but a preview of essentially what's going to be here. Talika? All right, perfect. I'll go with that. But what we want is this trailer here. So this was an amazing trailer. This did get leaked, unfortunately, shortly before the announcement itself, which was a little disappointing for some people. However, sometimes it's hard to say whether or not some of these leaks are real, but this one was, but it was worth it. It'd be cool if they added some of these monsters into stories too. I would, fingers crossed, they're working on Stories 3, honestly. But first reveal straight off the bat is the island's back, the jungle's back. Very excited. This is one of my favorite maps in the OG games. But this was a crazy reveal. Espina, a monster only in the Frontier series, which I think this is the first Frontier series monster that's ever made it into a mainline, which is really kind of crazy. Now, I'm not hugely fond of what I've seen of this monster. I don't really know how it works. But, the other crab. We got basic crab. We got advanced crab and basic crab. Shogun coming back makes sense if we were going to have Senator. But Astalos, who was already teased to us, so we knew he was coming. But damn, he looks good. A new version of the Fire Spider, which is a blast one. Environmental effects coming back, which is nice to see. I thought that was a new map, but it's not. Just seeing some of the NPCs in action. As well as some new switch axe, still not switch axe, wire bug moves. Also, I think that's a new small raptor. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that new Raptor? But there he is. The fan favorite, Gore Magala. Gore is... We've been waiting for this guy to come back for a while, and it is curious whether or not we will see the Frenzy Virus come back in the same form, because there is a equivalency that is on the new monster. Malzeno has a interesting buff. But here we are. The reason I was excited, the return of the tower. This is my favorite map. I love the visuals to the tower so much. All 3 versions of it. I don't know if we're getting back one tower or all the arenas in some different way. I think it's not a full zone. I think it might be just arena. But we're getting Lucent Nagakuga. Rather than the deviant form of Nagakuga, for some reason, we are getting Lucent, which suggests to me that when they specify rare species and special species is probably Lucent. And I'm wondering whether or not the deviants in terms of the apex will return. So, very curious, but it's very cool to see. Actually, due to the funny autocorrect, a small incident, an incident with a small group, so calls me J Palico. That's pretty good. I like that. We'll just call you J Palico from now on. Did I miss anything? I'm not sure. There's a lot, Kit. This is a lot going on right now. But yes, I think they might be called bogies. Yeah, so that was the one thing that I didn't see people really talking too much about. Am I crazy? Are these elf boys new? Because there's definitely not a larger raptor equivalent of them. I want one. If there is a larger raptor that has big elf ears, I would be very into him. But very, very cool trailer, revealing 3 monsters, and 2 of them are very particular in terms of what they reveal, which is a flagship monster with a special effect, and a Frontiers monster, which people have been waiting for, and a return to a map that I think is a fan favorite. It is a weird version of this map, I will tell you that. But yeah, they are because they're in stories too. I think they are. I was really trying to remember because I don't remember this monster, but I kind of really like them. Though they are small monsters, they're not amazing. There's not a lot of them, but I'd love to see a larger version. I like the Raptors, as easy as they may be. They're good fodder, I think, for Monster Hunter games, making your way up. But yeah, holy heck. Very, very cool reveals. I was very, very into this part of the Capcom showcase. But there was one other thing that Capcom talked about. It was a Dragon's Dogma announcement. We'll hold on to that. We'll keep moving. Slime Rancher 2 launches this fall. So if you've not played Slime Rancher 1, it is a very, very, very good game. It has been quite a while since we've heard from them with this game. And they showed off new footage. It's going to be releasing in October. This game looks like quite fun. Like I may pick it up. The first one I had a bit of issues with, and I didn't complete it fully, but it's very, very fun game. They're in the desert map in Stories 2. I literally don't remember them at all. I see nothing for PlayStation. A lot of things will be across the board, Superwoman. A lot of them, if they don't announce what platforms, probably just assume across the board. But this one was originally on PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. So you need it. This is a very fun game if you guys have not played it. Schlim? I was doing research on DDR5? Oh, on RAM. Oh, yeah. That's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of people talking about waiting for RAM is like a good idea. But basically, this is a game where you farm slimes, and very, very, very cool. Speaking of Sunbreak, did you see the recent video? A squad of 4 insect glaive users beating Malzeno in 2 minutes. Holy heck, no, I hadn't. I haven't been avoiding videos of how people have been fighting Malzeno just at the moment, just because I haven't beaten him yet. I haven't had much time to play recently, so I've almost killed him. I've gotten him to blue, but I haven't killed him, so that's hopefully what we can work on today. But It's very fun. He's a tough fight. He's not an easy fight for sure. But yes, if you've not played this game, it is a collecting game. It's basically a survival collector in a sense, but without the survival component. It's mostly progressing, making a farm, and farming slimes. And it's just charming. This game is just charming. You love the first one. It's very, very good. Slime Rancher 2 is confirmed for Xbox and Steam. Is it not confirmed for PlayStation either? I'm actually surprised if it's not. But yes, it's a very big world. So unlike a lot of other farming games, I would say, this game has a bit of a focus of exploration and zones and stuff like that, where you basically need to earn the different slimes that you collect from discovering them and interacting with them and things like that. So this is a very, very messy farm. Let's say the new Switch skill Awakening is the new Safi Aqua Shot. Whoa, okay. So everyone's going to be running it for a long time, it sounds like. It's not going to be on PlayStation and Switch on release, at least, Kit. Very likely it will, because both it's on, I think the original Slime Rancher is on everything now. Dragami Games, this was weird, chat. So this was a weird announcement. So this basically happened kind of stealthily. This one was very strange. It was rumored a little while ago that this was happening and no one quite believed it. But Lollipop Chainsaw is getting a revival or a remake or something. It's just very odd. They didn't put out any footage or anything like that, but Studa51 basically just was like, Lollipop Chainsaw is back by Dragami Games, who I'm not even sure who Dragami Games are. Let's have a look. Who are these? I literally don't know what this company has made before. But literally everyone's just talking about this. Usually it's a funny sign if you go through this and I can't see. So I can see a Gamatsu one. Here we go. Oh, the Demon Gaze teams. Wait, hang on. God Wars as well? This is a weird... Okay, that's a weird list of games. Okay, so yeah. That's who is going to be working on it. But, yeah. I didn't realize they had Lollipop Chain. I'm assuming that just must have been added to that list recently. Somehow they've got the IP. Because I'm fairly sure that wasn't the original team. But, yes. This was kind of a bit of a surprise one. I'm not sure remaking this is necessarily going to sell well. It is a niche game for niche people. But... we'll see. We'll see if it pays off for them. Digimon Survive. Man, I've got to talk about survival news whenever I can. The release date falls in July 2022. So basically, this just reaffirms the release date. They're not moving it. It is going to be on July 29th. We will be playing it on release. And it looks very exciting still. This basically a new trailer came out. Just showing off some more stuff. Basically talking more about well, not talking more about, but really just showing off a little bit more of the visual novel side of it, because this game is a visual novel first at the end of the day. So if you're not into those types of games, perhaps this might not be for you. It doesn't seem to be as combat focused just overall, which is a bit disappointing, but it's very, very pretty. The 2D art is gorgeous.
In a world swarming with monsters, where terrifying creatures roam the night.
I'll get an Xbox. It looks like I have to get one. Thinking about it, but I really have to hold off. Yeah, I think Superwoman. I think hold off as much as you can, especially if you only just got a PS5, because I feel like there's a lot of other things that will be coming soon that will come to pretty much across the board, and Patience will probably bring it across to all of them anyway. But we get to see more of the combat. One big thing we get shown off in this particular trailer is this moment here, which is the evolution tree, which evolutions, I don't know if they stay between combat, but we do see here, this basically confirms that we are going to get all the way up to mega stages, And off Agumon line, we're getting 2 types. We're getting very likely Omnimon and something else, which I'm assuming which will be the virus line, which who knows, that might mean that we might get something off Machinedramon, and we might see, I don't know, just trying to think who would be off Machinedramon, but there's quite a few different like sort of virus ones it could be, but at least we know we will get up to Megas, but very likely it will probably be at the very, very end game. But for fans of Digimon, you probably recognize this little moment here with Greymon, but it seems like they change the scene depending on which evolution you get. And in this case, he's got a Tyrannomon, and look, it's so good. I'm a big Tyrannomon fan, so this is just kind of an exciting thing to see. So, but is Renamon in the game? I don't believe so. I don't think Renamon's been revealed yet.
This July 29th.
There's a lot of different ones. However, what I will say, Renamon may be in there because as a gifted one, you seem to get Guilmon for some reason. And it's not tied to the story. It seems to be just an extra Digimon you get. So there will be collectibles, but supposedly there's only 120 or something in this game, if I remember correctly. So not a huge amount of Digimon are in the game, but basically this is a free, if you get the game on launch or pre-order, you will get them for free. And apparently it's for a limited time. I think it's like 2 months or something like that. But that's pretty cool. Guilmon, I love my boy. I'm hoping, I don't know if that means you will get evolutions. The thing is, Guilmon has similar evolutions to Agumon, so very likely he's just sort of almost an alt skin for Agumon, unfortunately, but I have to watch this to see if I want it. I know, I've had a lot of people mention that to me, that they're probably going to hold off from getting Survive until they've seen like myself play it. And that's totally okay. I think this is the type of game that is a little bit of an unknown, and with the development hell it went through, it's fair enough if you think that you want to hold out. But I'm very excited for it either way, because it means the development's done and the team can work on something new. We might be freed from hearing about Survive being in perpetual dev hell finally. Final Fantasy Ever Crisis closed beta announced. We are now in the Square Enix section. Final Fantasy did their 7 anniversary stream, and there was a lot of 7 news, and it's kind of crazy, some of the stuff that got announced here. Starting off with was Ever Crisis. Unfortunately, this footage is from Twitter, so it's going to be crunchy for a moment, unfortunately. But we just got to see more of Ever Crisis, which is the combination story of all 7 games prior to Remake, and the movie Advent Children as well. So this will be an episodic release on mobile. Of course, you can see it's kind of chibi and things like that. This is not really targeted, I would say, at everyone. This is specifically for 7 fans, if you really wanted to replay or catch up on the story. But it's going to be weird because, as you can see, this has got 7 stuff. However, it has Crisis Core stuff. It also has stuff from Dirge of Cerberus. I believe it also has the Turks storyline from the mobile game. There is alternate costumes, which Cloud looking in the samurai armor looks dope. I love Tifa's outfit, that looks really good. Paris as a princess makes sense. But some of the cutscenes look very, very, very good. However, there was a little bit of a teaser in this, which I'm not sure what this means. There is possibly extra content in this. I do not know if they're changing extra story to tie this into what happens in Remake. Because it feels like the focus for people to know how important Dirge of Cerberus's plot and Crisis Core is. And it might tie into what happens here. There is an alternate Sephiroth. I have no idea what that is. I don't know if that is like meant to be Genesis. Is it meant to be young Sephiroth? Is it meant to be an alternate Sephiroth as the one that might do the storyline for remake? Who knows? That was not something I was expecting to see in that particular trailer, but it seems like there might be more to Ever Crisis than it might have originally alleged on to be. Includes Dirge Cerberus, might actually make the game playable. You gotta be joking, Red. Man, Dirge Cerberus, that game hurts me. I'll be honest. But the other one, which I've kind of have an affection for, which it's still kind of dumb at the same time, is Crisis Core. Crisis Core is Zack's story, and it's Zack's new voice actor. I'm not quite fully sold on, but this game looks pretty dang good. Minus this cutscene, which is just an up-res version of the old PS Vita.
The price of freedom is
I haven't watched that trailer yet. Oh no, that's not even anything to do with the new trailer. Hey Zigzagoon, welcome on in. It's supposed to be Daddy Sephiroth before he stabs Mario's pants? What? What are you talking about? But yes, and so if you've never played Crisis Core, you'll notice in the top left-hand corner it has like the slots system. It's pretty much the major focus of the game. You're not in complete control in that game, unfortunately, because of the slots. And there's a large amount of RNG, so some fights can just drag out. But it's the least fun-ish, I would say. And I would hope that some of the things that they change in this does make a bit of a difference. But it looks good. I would say it looks good, particularly for a remake of this particular game. So
gave birth to the man we know as Genesis.
Zack is best boy. I do like Zack. I don't like Angeal. That's what I will say.
settle down.
But Gak's back in Crisis Core. I don't know if
Do you know?
I wonder if they got Gak to redo some of the lines, or if they are straight pulled up from the old game. But I never beat the secret boss. In which one, Red Rover? In Crisis Core or Dirge Cerberus? It's okay, Zig's good.
Heaven?
Not quite. It's a church.
By the way, what is your dream?
In Crisis Core? I don't know if I did. Is Minerva the one in Crisis Core?
No.
I don't remember doing that. I probably didn't.
Ah, good. Unattainable dreams are the best kind.
Embrace your dreams.
It sounds like they're reusing the same lines. Some are, some aren't though, because this is definitely... Zack sounds completely different. The OP goddess. Yeah, I don't think I ever fought her. But obviously some cinematics will be just up-resed and other cinematics seem to be remade for some reason. But yes. Crisis Core, if you've never played it, this will be your excuse to consume the story. This was kind of unexpected. So for those who don't know, there was a leak quite a long time ago that this existed. And however, it was a very strange thing because then Ever Crisis came out and we assumed that was the remake. Turns out this is actually what they were doing. So this was kind of a bizarre announcement to happen in the first place. But I think this is probably, of those other games that got made, this is the one that I would say is probably worth checking out. Dirge Cerberus probably less so, and I don't think the Turks mobile game is really even relevant anymore in some ways, but especially for farming the monies. Wait, farming the miners. The trick was to spam flash and roll. Yeah, there's some cheesy stuff you could do in that game, so I'm wondering how this will be. But yeah. And then the big one, of course, Final Fantasy Remakes sequel. It's not called Remake something else. It's called Rebirth. So we're going to get something for each of them. Now, this is where we might enter into slight spoiler territory for people who have not played Remake yet. Intergrad and Remake very much lead into the plot of this game. Fair warning, you will hear a lot of people talk about this. Remake is not Final Fantasy VII. I would like to clarify that for people who don't know. It is a different story. And this game will probably follow in that trend. The end of it really highlighted a particular thing. And yeah, I'm thinking that the tease in this particular story is based off those things. For those who have played the end of Remake and Intergrad, there is very, very interesting connotations to what we just see in this
What
particular
we've
trailer.
done, that's set in stone. The past is forever. But the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So
No
focus on
problem.
the future,
Night Zigzagoon.
not the past.
I had to play this, I should. Remake is fanfic turned into a game. It kind of do
Finish
be.
what he started.
It got Nomura'd is how I like to phrase it, unfortunately. I'll never be able to beat her on my original file now. Oh no! Red Rever. Now you'll have to do it in the remake now.
I saw you
But-
lying there. I figured it was
As we can see, Cloud and
Wait,
Sephiroth.
what
Cloud
are
in
you
quotation
implying?
marks and Sephiroth. I mean, I can talk about it.
That I'm
I'd probably talk about it. In the original game, we know that is not Cloud who is walking with Sephiroth right here. They're making their way to the Marco reactor. They talk about, you can hear Tifa's
Some kind
line
of
talking about
imposter?
what happens to her and what Cloud thinks has happened. But something's not quite right.
5 years ago. Where are you? What happened to you?
I'm trying so hard to find you.
Very, very in reference to
Sorry.
7.
I feel
But
like I failed you.
that scene is slightly different here. Look at how close he is to Midgar, is my clue here. But what I would say is it will be interesting to see how this plays out, because we've now got a scenario where there is a lot of bizarre, crazy changes are going to happen. And Zack may be the biggest change to a lot of that stuff. And there is a reason why Crisis Core, I think, is being remade. Absolute fan fiction, most definitely. But basically, we do get little cuts here in between. So we get to see Aerith be poked again. I mean, I think we literally get to see it here. This is the moment here. So the thing is, the cut's different. So something's funny about some of these cuts, chat. So if you look at both this cinematic and the other cinematic, look at what is Aerith wearing, and then the cut again. There's some changes happening here. Something is not quite right in this trailer.
You were here with me.
And I think the more we
5 years
see,
ago.
the more
Where
this
are
will
you?
make sense. But
What happened to you?
prepare for some whacked
I'm
out
trying so
storylines,
hard
because
to find you.
Remake is very strange.
Feel like I failed you.
So I'm not going to put too many of my theories here because of the fact that I still feel like there's a lot of people who have not played Intergrad. And I don't want to spoil for people, but I have a lot of theories about what I've seen here and where this is going to go. I'm specifically reminded of one called Escape Plan Green. What? As in a fan fiction that was called that. I want to see Dino Crisis. I mean, we got Exoprimal is basically your Dino Crisis kit. I think that's the best you're going to get out of Capcom these days. But Square went hard with Final Fantasy, and they pretty much gave what all the 7 fans wanted. I think that was a good presentation. I don't think people probably walked away from it unimpressed. But I do think we are now at the bleed point of they're really wringing 7 dry. And after this entire project of the 7 remake stuff all done, fingers crossed that is the end of it, because it's a lot. I feel like it's a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Dirge of Cerberus remake occur when part 3 gets announced, which that scares me a lot. We've come a long way with console shooters, but I don't know how that game would be remade in a way that's still functioning. So we'll see. But one big thing they announced is essentially that we now know specifically that 7 Remake project is actually 3 parts. And that means that we've got Final Fantasy Remake, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and Final Fantasy Re-something, which we've seen a lot of Revengeance memes going around. But at least it's only 3. I'm assuming this is just to pair up in terms of the fact that there were 3 discs originally for Final Fantasy VII. I also assume this is because they don't want the project to go on forever, and they need to get it done before the end of this generation. They can't have a situation where it's across 3 generations. That would be insanity. because it's already across the PS4 and the PS5. But fingers crossed they will have this out before the end of the generation. Yeah, now that they've figured out this engine and a lot of how they want to structure this, I think they'll probably be able to dev this a lot faster. I haven't played the game besides Crisis Core, and I own remakes, so the spoilers are getting dicey. I know, it's very hard, Klima. My suggestion is probably you will want to finish both Remake and Intergrad before the next set of trailers for this game. I don't know when those will be, because there will be certain point where people will straight up be talking about the changes. This one is light enough on spoilers that I think that you can probably avoid, but 7, if you've played 7, those two scenes make sense. But if you've played Remake and Intergrad, those scenes play a little bit differently in your head. So do be careful with spoilers. All right, now the big one. Here is the big announcement for this week. And probably the reason why I would say Capcom probably won out from the announcements. This is probably been the thing that people have been wanting for a while as very specific fans, and was rumored / leaked quite a few times now, but holy hell, they've finally confirmed it after a very silly presentation that went on for a while that people were very worried was not going to have any payoff for. Dragon's Dogma 2 has been announced. We are getting Dragon's Dogma 2. It's freed from making Capcom, free making DMC for the time period, and he's been working on this in the background for some time now. And yeah. So if you didn't know, this was amongst the Nvidia leaks as well as the Capcom leaks. It was supposed to be apparently announced like over a year ago, and it didn't for some reason. Assuming there might be some bit of dev hell going on because Capcom's forcing forward other IPs. So he's probably working with sticks and rocks at the moment to get something together. But they do have the RE engine. It is confirmed that this is in the RE engine, and it is being made of Monster Hunter World. So this game may be extremely good. We have no footage, no anything. It's literally just a nice little cut of them just stating at the very end of their 10-minute presentation that they are going to be making Dragon's Dogma 2. And yeah. There are some hardcore fans for this. If you've not seen the memes going around for this and how much people have been requesting for Dragon's Dogma 2, it's been quite some time, and I've been very excited myself. I played when Dark Arisen came out, and it is very, very fun. If you like a good grim dark RPG fantasy that is very anime-esque, and you can beat up and climb on monsters and stuff like that, if you're a Monster Hunter fan, I would most definitely say you would be a fan of this game. But it has aged quite a lot. So a new game is about time, and I think that this IP has legs that they could probably show off. If they can get this to land in the new version, we might have Dragon's Dogma as an IP that's just successful from here on out. But very, very good. Oh, all right, chat. We did it. We got through the announcements. Still got some news, but that's mostly the announcements out of the way. I've probably skipped a heck of a lot, but we can go watch them at a later time. If we really want, we'll take a poll after this whether or not we want to watch the Wholesome Direct, because there's a whole heap of indie games that I haven't seen that I would like to see. But otherwise, we'll watch that another time. But for now, on with the news. Cross media. The only cross media I wanted to talk about this week is actually a weird one. Well, slightly weird. Michael A. Stackpole is to pen a Dark Souls novel. Now, we've never really had a Souls book before, so I don't know how this will work. And it's seemingly based on the original Dark Souls, and it's kind of strange because Souls has always been loose lore, so having a character established into hard lore will be very weird. But supposedly this guy is from the Warrior trilogy, and he did Star Wars X-Wing novels. So he seems to be pretty acclaimed. I don't really know much about his writing, but this will be interesting to see how this turns out and whether or not there is anything from research and connections to FromSoft as an official book, whether or not it will illuminate certain things in the lore that we didn't quite know before. But we're pretty clear with Souls lore, I would say now, after the course of 3 different games. But there might be some specifics from the generations of the original Souls game to see. Anime! So we actually have a few anime, and one I was very, very excited by. Not this one. This one was just a funny one to come across. But Gudetama, if you've never seen, this is the little egg boy. You've probably seen lots of artwork of this little egg boy. He's getting a show now, funded by Netflix. Netflix be everywhere, by the way. I can't get over how much Netflix has gone into the anime space. It's kind of crazy. But this one isn't fully anime. Wow, this one is very much a little teaser, isn't it? Oh, he's a little Tookus. Oh, he slides away. That's pretty good. So it seemingly the show is a little, it's partially CG, and I think it's partially animated from my understanding. I don't think they've got any other footage of it, but again, Netflix very leaning into making anime stuff. Speaking of weird anime transitions though, One Punch Man is getting a live action, and it is going to be directed by Justin Lin. I don't know who Justin Lin apparently is. The Fast and Furious movies guy. Very, very weird combination. Yeah, and the writers from Venom. So I'm not going to say I have high hopes for this particular one, but it is a very, very funny thing to see being made. I like One Punch Man a lot. I still think that the earlier One Punch Man is definitely the stronger part of it. I personally am more of a fan of Mob Psycho, but if you could encapsulate not necessarily Western live action, but a movie segment of the starting part of One Punch Man, I think would be quite good. But I don't know about this, chat. I don't know about this. It is going to be mostly Western, so and we know how we feel about those. So yeah, the X-Wing novels were good. Oh, okay. So at least the writing quality will hopefully be quite good for that Dark Souls book. That's good to hear at least. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see, chat. We'll see. But something I was very, 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 very excited for, because there was a teaser. I am a big fan of this anime and a big fan of the manga. Trigun Stampede got teased, and it actually announced. It was a very short teaser just before it. We are getting a new. Is this a series? I actually don't know. Is this a movie or a series? Is this? I actually don't know. It's a new series. Okay, perfect. Thank God. I thought in my head I was hoping it was a series, because original Trigun, if you've watched the anime, is not the same as the manga, and we've never had a proper adaptation of the manga, and I think that's what this will be, and this will be very cool. If you've never watched Trigun, this game resonates with my soul. This anime resonates with my soul. The visuals, the aesthetic. Vash is one of the best protagonists ever. I love him so much. Guys, I like my guys in red trench coats that are a bit jovial, wandering wastelands. It's very fun. Trigun, very, very good. Yeah, very excited. I'm really hoping this makes a resurgence of fans for this series. But Vash the Stampede, the $1 billion man, is coming back. I'm very excited. All right. Money for merch. We've got a couple of distillies to talk about here out of anime territory. Into more territory. Gundam's Char is going to is promoting McDonald's. The supremacist himself selling cheeseburgers. This got a lot of traction in Japan. Gundam fans lost their shit over this one. So who in chat wants a char burger? Oh, it's a there's spicy burgers. It's a new type. He's got a new type burger. So funny. Very silly. Japan, you amuse me, and there's no limits to what you will do sometimes. Speaking about this as well, Square willing to sell anything. By the way, if you didn't watch the Square presentation, they sold they tried to sell merchandise during the Final Fantasy VII presentation, which is not surprising. Japan be Japan, but this wasn't listed amongst them, and then this popped up as well. They're selling a Final Fantasy VII Shinra branded umbrella. Umbrella is very big in Japan, by the way. Like they have like this weird umbrella culture, but this is funny because it works very, very well, and it's quite expensive. But actually, it's not as expensive as I thought. I misread that. I thought it was for $300. It's actually for $299. So look, you could pretty much. It's a weird thing to see collectors' houses where some collectors that love a particular IP can pretty much fill their house with every type of paraphernalia with a particular brand. You could have a Square Enix house for sure. Without a doubt, I reckon you could get anything and everything Square Enix. And that would be a scary place to enter. A scary place to enter. That's what big business does. Big business does this. All right, let's jump into the last few articles. This was almost a controversy section I was going to make over these next two articles, but I thought I'd just leave them big business. Mostly because it's kind of be what it is. But if you didn't know, so for Street Fighter 6, there's no confirmation that Fei Long will be in the game. We haven't seen him since 4. He was a 4 unique character. But there was rumors going around basically because of Twitter stuff. I think it was a musician or something had said something. But Fei Long and a heap of other characters in the fighting games communities, such as these ones in Tekken and things like that, are based around Bruce Lee. Now, the Bruce Lee estate is supposedly meant to be very stringent on how IPs manage a sort of characterization based on him, Fei Long being one of them. And however, it turns out that wasn't actually true. From certain statements were made, it seems like it actually was fine. It seems like if Fei Long was to ever return in Street Fighter 6, it probably would be okay. Not sure he really would, just because the focus seemingly is on other types of characters that are coming out for new. But it's very, it's just funny to have these sorts of discussions being made and things like that. But it's fine. Fei Long, he's okay in our books. And in theirs. And the last article for today, chat. Diablo Immortal gets over $24 million of spending within 14 days of launch. Again, I almost made this a controversy one. This is a finances one. The reason why I brought up this particular article is because with Diablo Immortal, knowingly people have talked about how this particular IP is extremely, I want to say, microtransaction heavy to the point that it is detrimental. And people are very, very upset in the West about it. However, people have still spent that amount of money. US accounted for 43% of the spending, South Korea 26% of the spending. That is a lot of money. A lot of money. And it looks like for some reason the split between Apple and Android was even. I don't really know what that's about, but it's kind of disappointing in the sense that despite something that people have complained about how the monetization works, Blizzard have easily probably made back their money on this particular IP, and that's all it takes. A well-known established IP monetized in particular ways, even if people will not continue playing it, that has easily made back the money that a mainline AAA IP kind of would have made, which is very disappointing to see. Yeah, that's only within 14 days, and this game is probably not going anywhere anytime soon. So it be what it be. hopefully this means that this money will be funneled back into basically getting Diablo 4, Diablo, what are we up to? Diablo 4, 5? Getting more funding so that gets more polish and everything like that, and showing that people want to play Diablo and things like that still. But it's definitely one of those things where, unfortunately, mobile is still a space of just, it's very egregious, and I think it has a bit of a fallout on the rest of the industry, and it's just a little sad. But yeah, I'm not surprised people complain about microtransactions and stuff, but still award companies with what they want. Yeah, it's the very, very difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing. Hey Dante, how you doing, man? Banning microtransactions needs to be a constant cultural push, most definitely. I think Europe has the right idea. Considering you can see here, this is US and Korea, that Europe's not even really listed in here. It looks like, just at a glance, they've got here, Germany was 6%, but it looks like it didn't release Netherlands or Belgium. UK is even listed here. Like, obviously, it shows that the European side doesn't not have money, but they're not willing to spend on microtransactions as some of the more Western areas, such as South Korea and America, are willing to spend, which is just, it's rough to see. Those, I feel like, unfortunately, as those countries are just getting a little abused in terms of that stuff. But until governments say no, this will continue, and it starts to bleed into the AAA, the mainline, like sort of games creation sort of area, in a way that's just, it's unhealthy. The main culprits are quick and easy games with daily tasks. Very much so. Very much so. And that's what they turned this game into. If you guys don't know, Diablo Immortal actually was originally a South Korean... No. It was Chinese. It might have been, I think it was a Chinese game. It was already a Chinese game that had an established microtransaction setup. And it sounds like it was worse than what it was when it was originally created. So it was a rip-off Diablo game, and then they turned it into a Diablo game. And it's gotten to the point that it is here. And the fact that this game took so long in development to come out and this to kind of occur kind of says a lot about the industry still, unfortunately. And yeah, again, it is what it is. And it's one of those things that just be aware, be like gachas and microtransactions. They're a slippery slope, not for the companies, but for you yourself. Be careful about it. Me playing Yu-Gi-Oh, it's always a constant issue. I get it, looking at it on a daily basis, where all these cards that I really want to make, and they're just out of a wallet's reach. I know about banning it, but governments and such really need to keep an eye on them. Yeah, most definitely. Having a weekly limit on how much players can spend would be nice. I think that they need to have some sort of regulations in terms of a lot of that stuff. I think that people hate the terms regulations, but regulations, when it comes to things that are obviously being abused and need to come into place, banning is the wrong reaction. A knee-jerk reaction in a lot of those cases would be really bad. Banning certain practices for how microtransactions might be set up would be a good way of doing it in some areas, but such as like where Japan had to have the situation where you can't sell a gacha without showing the actual statistical figures to give people more visibility, but also it needs to be accurate. It was very important over there, which has still not come over to the West in a lot of places. But we are at a space where now there are a couple of things coming in from various different directions that, fingers crossed, it might have repercussions on the industry. Don't you guys have phones? I mean, that's the game. This is the thing. That's this game, Kit. Just to think about how long ago that was. And the fact that now we're at a space where people have spent that amount of money to that particular game with the statement. It's not about capping spending. It's amounts. It's about the grind and FOMO. It's kind of scary just how much FOMO is a thing. But yeah. Square wins by Crisis Core remake alone, IMO. Hey, Digon. How you doing? I think that for me, Dragon's Dogma won easily. Dragon's Dogma being announced is just, it's such a godsend finally. Crisis cards, legendary cards become pay to win. They really do. I mean, that's it. If you look at any of the card games are like the ultimate gacha, unfortunately. Duel Masters and Legacy of the Duelists handle the same game in different ways. Dude, I again, I've talked about it before. I would highly suggest if you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you'd want to do it for very cheap, go pick up Legacy of the Duelists. It doesn't have everything, but it does have enough that you could play with your friends and still play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I would not suggest picking up the Switch version because you can't cheat in all the cards, but you go and cheat in all the cards on the PC, and just to make it so you can just play and have fun. It's good. I personally play only good games like Spyro, Lego Batman. Still kind of scummy stuff with things like the Mario 3D collection. I mean, Nintendo aren't immune to it. Like, that's the thing. It's AAA company across the board. This is why we talk about this stuff. This is why we talk about figures. It's why we talk about controversies. It's why big business needs to be called big business, because at the end of the day, they are not your friend. They are selling you a product, and you need to be a smart consumer. That will be our biggest preaching that ever comes from any of our news is don't just be flippant with your money because you encourage certain behaviors. And that's the consumer always will be in control. But if you have them break, then if you break and start giving them money. Dragon's Dogma 2 has been on the long time wish list, although we didn't get to see anything. I would have preferred a sneak peek. Yeah, is the thing with Zygon. It's the thing with that game is like it must have gone through development hell with all the leaks and us knowing that it was probably meant to be announced last year. Really suggests COVID and the new titles that they're working on at Capcom probably took precedence, unfortunately. Speaking of big business, I'm here. Hello, big boy. How you doing, CJ? Welcome on in. Wild Mod, you've joined just as I was about to take a break. We've actually just gotten through the news. So we've now kind of got a choice here. Where I've kind of made a sort of realization we could, before jumping into Monster Hunter, is we could watch the Wholesome Direct, because I didn't watch any of it, and I kind of want to watch some of them because I like a compressed indie showcase. And these games might not be for everyone, but I do like me an indie showcase. So I might put a poll up as I take a break, and then we might watch that. Otherwise, we'll play some Monster Hunter Sunbreak, which prepare for me to get my ass kicked, by the way, chat. You notice you didn't upload a Absol, so I'm going to need one. Yeah, I kind of didn't have enough time to do that, unfortunately, Red Rover. So I had to leave it. But if you want that Absol, we could probably do that after the break. Yeah. It feels like it was done a bit too early. I don't know, Daigon. We don't. It's hard to say with Japan. Japan development is one of those things. It's always a bit of an illusion because sometimes they like to announce things just before, and then other times they don't. Capcom right now is in a state where they kind of are not showing things off, like too late in development. They're actually showing it off quite early. So we might be at the stage where it's like, it might be still early days for it in some ways, but I actually would worry that to say that it might be going through dev hell is probably the likely, and they're not comfortable showing it just yet. Japan usually don't show off unless they're comfortable, but yeah. From which gen? I like that it's like the gen needs to be specified. All right. Well, I'm going to take a quick break, chat. Also, welcome in Potted if I didn't say welcome in already. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to put a poll up now. So are we going to, what to do? Are we going to watch the Wholesome Direct, or jump into Sunbreak demo? Oh. Sometimes the news can make me lose my voice. I honestly am. I'm low on breath now. Absolutely sure. Carter. All right, I'm gonna take a break, chat. And I will be shortly back with what you guys might want to do. So leave a vote in the poll above, and we might see some more games. All right. Thank you for sticking around on the news, guys, and. You go take a break as well. I'll be right back.